Hello, thanks for joining me today. Today we'll be talking about how to grow your brand on social media. I'm Izzy Nally, and I am excited to deliver this 3-day live training to you this week. So let's start off with if you are watching, we give some time for people to jump on. If you're watching, let me know what you think of. What keywords do you think of when you hear the word brand or branding? And also let me know, how comfortable do you feel about social media and showing up on social media? How confident do you feel about the whole concept and then just doing it in general? So let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being extremely confident about social media and 0 being I don't know anything. Maybe you don't even utilize it, is 0. Okay, so we've got 10 to 0. Let me know how comfortable you feel on that scale of 0 to 10. How comfortable do you feel with social media? And then also let me know, drop in the chat, because this is it's fun, it's collaborative, it makes this a conversation as well. Let me know, what do you think of? What keywords do you think of when you hear the word branding? Branding. Okay. So let's talk about that word branding in the first place. Let's go back, way back in history, to where does this term come from? So a smith would stamp their brand, their iron, onto something to make it their mark of what they did, their craftsmanship. And so you you utilized and you knew what this brand was, and you knew if it was quality or not, right? We know this in the clothing world. The clothing world, certain brands have this image in our minds of quality. So we know that, like, if we're going to get Under Armour, for example, we know that our seams are less likely to bust and rip, that our pants are going to last a little bit longer. Was it Lululemon is the big yoga pants, where we know that when we bend over in yoga class, our underwear aren't going to be showing. So that brand gives us an assurance of the quality. We have key words that we tend to think of, such as when I think of Under Armour, I think of weightlifting. And when I think of Lululemon, I think of yoga. So that gives us those key words. Now let's look at the tech industry. When we look at the brand of Apple versus the brand of Google, those give us different, brain waves. It gives us different neurons that are firing when we think about those different things. And some of us have a positive association and some of us have a negative association. When we think of Apple, we might think of less customization, versus when we think of an Android, we think of being able to customize, lots of more choices, more freedom, versus Apple might think more organized, more simplistic, more I don't need to think about everything, so there is less choices. And those two different people are going to view those devices in their own way as well. So those target markets are going to have their own perspectives and views. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about branding. Now, within the marketing world, there's a lot more to branding than just those. So, branding in the marketing world means that we need to be recognizable. So, we might have a color palette, for example, and so that we can spot those colors, those shapes, and we're like, oh, we know that's that brand. Let me think. What is one? Target. Target tends to have their own brand, their own style of how their models show up in the ads and how they jump across the screen and how they film their advertisements. So they have this style that then makes their brand. So what it really is, again, is when someone sees something, they can recognize it, When they see something, it might give them certain emotions. When they see something, it allows them to think assurance of quality. So if someone's being wishy washy, then we know we think of that person, we associate that person with that. Now, what does that mean for social media? Well, again, kind of like the Target instance that I was mentioning, we have that ability when we show up on social media to give off that same finesse, that same presence. So when someone sees a post by us, if they know that we tend to post really good news updates that we have ourselves vetted before we put them on there, then they will associate us with a brand of truth, of credibility. And so if we're posting and we're just sharing things, let's say on LinkedIn or on Facebook, and we tend to share things where we're not even reading the full article and then sharing it, that is detrimental to our own personal brand. So we want to make sure that you've actually read something fully before you repost it. And I know I'm guilty of doing that in the past as well. And it has bit me. Maybe it hasn't bit you yet, but you should definitely do that. And making sure that it also is relevant to what you want to be known for. This is really important when we're creating our own brand, is making sure that what we're posting is relevant to what we want to be known for. And we're going to talk about that more in the next 3 days, including today. So, talking more about what it is that you really need to do in order to create your own brand. We'll be talking about that tomorrow and how to create a social media brand. And then on the third day, we'll be talking about how to stay consistent with that. So that's also extremely important, because if we do it just for a short period of time, that does not have the effect of branding. Branding is something that you are in the long haul for. So, for example, my branding should not be the person that wears cute glasses, although I do have some really cute glasses on today. My branding should be based on my values. So our what we wear, our hair, our clothes, that can change. Now we want to be consistent with that so people do recognize us. Again, as we come back to that visual branding. However, my brand should be more about the issues in the world that I care about. It should be more about what my core four values are. Like knowledge is a really core value for me. Teaching, that falls in that same category. I'm also really passionate about diversity, inclusion, and communication, which all are in the same bucket for me. So when I keep showing up on social media and I'm posting about these topics, it allows my viewers, or people that are viewing me, to begin to make those associations. So when I'm talking about marketing and social media and how to really show up with a presence that helps other people, that is part of who I am. So I'm not just another person promoting marketing and social media. I'm really here to help break it down, because I love breaking down complex issues and making them simple. But I also have a lot of heart in what I do. And I want people to show up and be able to make a difference, because a difference can be made through social media. And we do that through our brand. So I always urge people to pick organizations that they really feel an alignment with, and looking at what are their mission and their value statements, and to begin to form your own mission and value statement. I'm going to talk about that again tomorrow, of course. I'm just lightly mentioning it now, so that you can really have that to come back to when you start to form your own brand. So a brand is something that we are in the long haul for. These are things about you that you want, how you want people to perceive you. And it's something that you aren't not planning on changing. So again, I might plan on changing my hairstyle. I might plan on changing my color palette. That is your visual brand. But what we're here talking today is more on your deeper brand of how you are really authentically showing up. And the same thing applies for your personal brand as much as for your business brand. Now, for some of us that might be watching, those two might be the same. So, if you are the face of your business, then your personal brand is your business brand. But for those who are watching, where you might have a slightly separate identity, where your business brand is more than just you. Maybe you have multiple employees, maybe you have a larger organization. And if you do, then your brand of your business needs to have its own personality. It needs to have its own values. And generally, those will come from you because if you are the CEO, then that is going to be your vision that you're holding for the business. But the business does, and we've heard this saying, your business is your baby, right? My business is my baby. I've put a lot of years in growing it, just like I do my children, and mentoring the people that are working with me and all of that. So if you do have a business that is separate from you yourself, then how you show up for your business is going to be slightly different. However, and this is really important, okay, this is really, really important. Everyone that works for your business is an umbrella, is a limb of the business itself. And this is why it's so important to make sure, especially if you have a smaller business, to make sure that your employees are showing up on LinkedIn, are showing up on Facebook as well, but LinkedIn's more the spot. And making sure that you do have a nice, clean profile photo, that you are checking the inbox at least once a week, at least. That you're showing up and you're sharing something from the business, that you're sharing something that is relevant to the industry, and that you're showing up and you're giving heart and breath to the business on these social media platforms. It is important because everyone is watching. It is so easy for someone to say, oh, okay, he has this business, and I'm going to go see their personal profile. They're going to check you out on LinkedIn. They're going to check you out on Facebook, especially if they're going to be investing money in you. They're going to be looking at you everywhere. Have you done a Google search on yourself and see what it pulls up? It's really important. My son told me this. He told me this a couple weeks ago. He said, I was at school, Mom, and I searched your name in Google and you're famous. And he saw all the stuff that came up. So the more and more that you show up on social media, the more you're reinforcing your brand. Now, this is what it's not, right? This is when it doesn't go well. For one, we all know the obvious, you just don't show up on social media. Two, if you are all over the place with what you're posting, all over the place. I see this all the time where someone is selling a product. Let's say they're selling a makeup product because they've signed up for one of these MLMs. There's nothing wrong with MLMs, but there's something wrong when you have too many under your belt and you're promoting all of them. Okay. So you're selling makeup, you're selling travel, you're selling finance, you're selling juice or weight loss. And suddenly you've taken on everything that you are interested in is becoming what you're selling. That's not where we show up. That's not our brand. Okay. Our brand is if these core areas are important to us. But what we're selling should only be one to two things because we need to have an extreme target with who we're selling to. And we can offer these other things once we get talking to them, but we don't want to be known for representing all these different brands. Let's look at an athlete, for example. Okay. They have a brand. Now, is their brand all the things that they sell? No. Their brand is that they are an athlete and that they have these core values and that these are the things that are important to them. And then they become the spokesperson maybe for another brand because there's an alignment. I see too many people, they think that they're a celebrity and they think that they can do all of these like endorsements for all these products, but that is really creating this jumbled confusion. So if you're showing up on social media and one week you're talking about diets and the next week you're talking about how to improve your relationships and the next week you're talking about let's say with the company that I worked with, supply chain, and then another week you're talking about communications. I'm just like all these different things that I could talk about. You would be really confused. You'd be like, what does she do? Right? And that wouldn't be in line with my brand and the 4 areas that I really want to show up and the 4 things that I really want people to know me for. The same thing, like Apple. Apple, it might be kind of weird if Apple came out with their own makeup line. I did a survey once. I used to be a Zumba instructor. For any of you all that don't know this, in my fitness career in the past, so I was a Zumba instructor, and I had been in Zumba for quite a while, and I got asked to participate in a focus group about the Zumba clothes and the Zumba shoes that they used to. I think they still do, but at that time that they were really promoting. And I got a kickback affiliate for any time I sold these products or helped facilitate that. And they were going to come out with a makeup line. And they were asking about it. And then they were asking, like thinking about coming out with like shakes and supplements. And I was like, why would you come out with a makeup line when people are coming to class? Yes, they want to look cute in some snazzy clothes and like dance clothes. But they're not wearing makeup to class. So yes, those people wear makeup, but you are not in the makeup business. Don't get into that. Now, are they coming to Zumba to lose weight? Yes, most likely. However, are they coming to Zumba to start having to take supplements? No, the clothes and the shoes was their sweet spot, and they were trying too hard to branch out. They were trying too hard to expand. So, they could do so many other things, but to try to like go down that route was just a little offline. It was not quite in alignment with what they were really trying to do. And so, again, I ask you, when you're showing up as a business, does your business clearly articulate the like 4 key values? Just 4. You can do less, but 4, I really don't recommend going beyond 4. You could do 5 at the very max, but really 4 is that sweet spot because I think of the pillars, 4 pillars. And we really want to communicate those. And that allows us, when we know those 4 pillars, that when every time we post on social media, we can ask ourselves, does it fall into one of those 4? If it does not, do not post it. I hope that makes sense. If it does not fall into your 4 pillars, don't post it. That's your checkpoint. Okay. The same thing holds true with if you're doing a blog post, if you're doing an article post. Now, as a person that works with a company or for a company, you would want to make sure that what you're doing with that company, if you're going to post about that, needs to fall into one of those 4 pillars. So that's if you're an employee, maybe on LinkedIn, and you're watching this and you're like, how do I show up with my own personal brand? Because if you're going to be sharing stuff from your work, then that needs to fall into one of your 4 pillars. And it should be, because you're spending a lot of time there. Right. And then for our people on Facebook who have their own businesses, who are their business. Again, like if family is something that's really important to you, family and community, then by all means, please share. And if you do share a photo of your family, tie that back in. On LinkedIn, you should be showing up. Let people know what you're involved in. And same thing with Facebook too. You should be letting people know little things that you do, little accomplishments. I was talking about that this week with, show up and let people know if you're speaking at an event. It's not bragging, it's about reinforcing your brand. It's LinkedIn is your living resume. And so is social media. Social media in general is your portfolio. It is your living, breathing portfolio for your business, for your personal brand. Maybe you're doing both. Now, on Facebook, you're allowed to post your family. You're allowed to post things a little more informal. On LinkedIn, we need to keep it formal. We need to think something that you would show the CEO of your business. Would you be okay with showing that to them? And how would you say it to them if you were going to show it to them? Such as you might see me post some photos of me with my newborn on LinkedIn, but I'm talking about like, hey, I'm with my coworker today. We're working from home and this is what we're working on. I'm tying it back. Or I'm talking about how I'm so grateful that I do get to work from home with my little one. Those are okay to talk about at work. Versus on Facebook, I went live from my hospital bed and talked about how it was being a business owner, being a consultant, and how I was managing my personal life. That's not necessarily appropriate for LinkedIn. So you have to gauge your audience, but I'm still staying in line with my 4 pillars. I'm staying in line with that. I'm not going to get on Facebook and start complaining about my day because complaining does not go into one of my pillars. So we want to show up and we want to show up professionally. So, by being on social media is an amazing platform to allow us to brand ourselves, to be in front of people, and to remind people that we exist. By showing up consistently, we're helping people not forget us. That's pretty important, huh? We're also allowing people to recognize and associate us with those keywords, such as when someone needs some help with something, they might reach out to you and say, hey, you're in my network. Who do you think would be a good person for me to ask about this? Or can I ask you a question about something? Yes, by all means, please utilize me as a resource. Let's help each other out. That's the point of networking. And networking is what social media is all about as well. Staying in touch and being able to help each other who's in our network. Now, what does that look like? Networking does not mean sales and only sales. If you start trying to sales pitch to people as soon as you message them, you're not building a relationship. You want to be able to say hi, be able to congratulate them on an upcoming anniversary at work or birthday. We want to keep them in our network. We want to be able to ask favors from people. We want to be able to ask people questions about their expertise. Now, if it goes beyond just having a 1 hour conversation for getting help on something, then that goes beyond a consultation or something of that sort. And that's where the point where you really need to look at then selling, then partnershiping with someone. I think that's the right word. And my daughter, she's a teenager and shipping is a new word. I don't know. Anywho, so that being said, use social media to show up and give people how you want to be perceived. That's pretty awesome. Back in the day, we had to work really hard to like hide our personal lives or hide things so that we didn't destroy our brand. And now it's really like people don't know anything about us except for what we post on social media. So you really get to be the artist of how you're perceived. And social media is your platform and your living, breathing portfolio. So make sure that you can define your 4 pillars, because tomorrow we're going to be talking about how to create your social media brand and maybe going in a little bit more depth on what we talked about today. So go ahead and start thinking about, start playing with what are your 4 core pillars. And if you're not sure, you're like, I have a lot of things, how do I narrow those down? Please send me a message. Or if you're in the Facebook group, I'll be making a post and we can DM in there. So be sure to utilize your resources. People want to help people, and people need connection. So utilize it. I'm Izzy Nally, Izzy Nally Consulting. Thank you for tuning in with me today, and I look forward to chatting with you later, and I'll see you tomorrow. All right, bye.